Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Blaming victims of financial fraud is providing cover for criminals.
This is according to an eye-opening study involving Nebraska and the rest of the nation. Emotions are getting in the way of victims reporting scams. Channel 8's Jessica Blum joins us now with how experts believe we can fix the problem. Jessica?
The aarp-fraud-watch-network is calling for an immediate change in how these crimes are being discussed, saying victims do not want to come forward despite losing massive amounts of money. Instead, they say blame needs to be targeted on the perpetrator. In many crimes, it's often that the victim blames themselves, and that's no different when it comes to frauds. AARP teamed up with the finra-investor-education-foundation for a study that found most fraud victims are already beating themselves up for believing the criminal that conned them. Experts say it's an emotional experience during the scam pitch and in the aftermath. Almost a third of victims blame themselves, according to FINRA.
With more reporting comes better data, more likely law enforcement action, more likely policymaker action, and even actually better supports within the family. So you're more likely to see family relationships that are maintained and sustained. And sometimes in the fraud experience that we currently see, there's a lot of strain and tension in the family.
The Federal Trade Commission says last year's financial fraud cost Americans nearly $6 billion. But the Attorney-Generals-office says costs could be well over $100 billion a year. The organizations recommend that law enforcement, banks, and even media outlets avoid using language that can be perceived as blaming victims. FINRA says one of the most important impacts that changing the language will accomplish is more reports.
The outsiders, the family members, others in the community may unintentionally exacerbate this sense of shame and blame through the words that we use, and that inhibits people's coming forward. So for instance, we may say, I can't believe you fell for that. Or we may say, even in prevention messages, we may say, don't be fooled. Don't be duped. And in doing so, we're putting that verb and that action on the target and ultimately the victim, and not on the perpetrator.
And with more reports, law enforcement can take action. Officers say scammers want to work as fast as possible so you don't think about it.
They want to capture that emotional aspect, or they want to get that emotional connection with you really fast, and they want you to make those really quick snap decisions without really thinking things through.
Authorities say it is important to slow down before you act. Call your bank before you transfer funds to see if they have had similar reports. And FINRA says the best thing you can do is talk to someone you know. When you talk through the event, you can see some of the red flags more objectively as someone listens.
All right, some important information there. Thank you so much, Jessica.